Namaste, friends, and welcome to this episode of Amazing Vedas with Dr. Parikshit Singh. Thank you, Dr. Singh, for joining us. Viewers, we are continuing our conversation on yoga and the Vedas, and we ended the last episode on a fascinating note where the poet Madhuchandas Vaishvamitra is invoking Indra to come and sit next to him, asanaha. And in a way, us, the dhatu us, means to sit, to come and join, as it were, the yajna. Yajna is the mode of worship, but everything is a yajna. This podcast is a yajna. It is a consecration of our energies to a higher cause. And Dr. Singh, let us invoke the gods to come and join us, the Vedic deities. And I would like to invoke your favorite deity, Agni. Last time we talked about Indra, but I propose to you and our viewers that without Agni, there is no yajna, and there is, in fact, no yoga as well. And last time when we were driving up to Tampa, you were telling me about the fire in the belly. And I want to ask you this question that you were saying that I don't mind how, just to paraphrase you, how intelligent or how well trained a person is, what kind of qualifications they have. But what I'm looking for is some fire, because if that person has the fire, they'll get it done. So my question to you, and I'm asking you even as a, fellow Guru Bhai, a fellow aspirant. I'm not a manager. I'm not good at managing either things or people, but I'm a teacher. And I, encountered this in my whole teaching career of over 40 years. And I asked this question, is it inherent or can you cultivate it? Can you encourage people to, discover that fire? And as Jim Morrison used to say, come on, baby, light my fire. So can the teacher light the fire in that dull, whatever person who's sitting in the classroom, or you as a CEO, can you light the fire in your employees?
So, one of my IT managers, vice presidents used to say, I can teach skill. I cannot teach passion. He used to say that. And so his criteria, among his criteria, the most important was passion. Is there intensity? Is there a fire to learn? And fire, of course, here is a very important, probably one of the most important markers, identifiers of a person's ability to do things. And there's so much tamas in us nowadays, and so much inertia. You need that passion to push through, as we say, fire in the belly, and that has to be there. But can it be stoked? Now, in Ayurveda, there is a way, which is anashana. You don't eat for a day, 2 days, and then the fire starts eating the ama, all the impurities. It starts digesting, and autophagy. Nowadays we call it autophagy, but it kills all the impurities and starts growing. That's one way of doing it. Then there are certain foods in our physiology that stoke that fire. Jatara Agni, right? It's called Jatara Agni. But there is fire even in our cells. There is fire even in the what is called the dhatus. And even so, there are 14 different kinds of fire in your physiology. Each sense indri has a certain fire to it, which comes again later in the Gita, of course. So I believe all of us have an innate fire. What happens is that fire gets clouded with smoke. And, another phrase that comes to my mind is flame of attention. I think each of us has the ability to awaken, or rather kindle, that flame of attention, paying attention, having some connection, because each of us has love for something. And that's whenever I have even in my practical life, if I have a patient who is kind of depressed and given up on life, what do you enjoy? Is there something you enjoy? Because if there's a hook, I need that hook. Is there something you like? A smoker and an alcoholic, I can't stop it. I can't make them stop it. But I have to find a hook. Oh, I love my grandchild. I would do anything for her. Oh, now now I'm inside. I'm smacking my lips, and I'm really thrilled. I'm clapping away. Do you really want to spend time with your grandchild? Yes, I want to see her graduate. Well, I'm sorry, you won't be able to do it unless you change your ways. Stop eating that half a pound of ice cream every night. Yeah. Stop the orange juice in the morning, your diabetes. Stop give up the cigarette. And now that one fire will cut the other fires because it's stronger. So we have to find that fire in our belly, that thing that lights us up, that flash in the brain, that that electric in our nerves. Somewhere that fire has to be caught. And if that fire is caught, and each of us have it, I think somehow or the other, and the trick of the teacher is to find that fire and build on it, I think. And because if we didn't have the fire, we wouldn't be alive. No,
That's it. That's it.
so our very living is a fire.
That's it. So I'm so glad that you said this, because I also believe the same. Though when you go higher and higher in the fire, as it were, then there are certain thresholds. But the good news, I mean, the Vedas is ultimately good news. None of us, if we didn't have the fire, we wouldn't even be born. We wouldn't be able to
Yes.
digest our food. We wouldn't be able to process information. So it's a message of hope. Yoga itself is a message of hope. I remember my own yoga teacher. I mean, again, friends, viewers, I learned yoga here in the United States. It was an optional course I took, and my teacher, Lois Steinberg, I don't know where she is today, but bless her, she had learned from the BKS Iyengar method. And my goodness, she was one toughie. And she'd say, "Hey guys, wake up. Sleepyheads, come on. Jump around." And then she would give us these preliminary warm up. So there it is, warming up, fire, ignite your fire, get onto it. And then some people used to say, "It's so hard." And of course, please don't take this as a recommendation, by the way. There are many different ways of doing yoga. But BKS Iyengar himself used to say that if you get injured trying to do yoga, it's not bad. It's going to heal quickly and it's going to help you. So, as I'm saying, I'm not recommending that method at all. And I think BKS Iyengar himself softened, but initially he was very fierce, like a Hanuman. And
Yes.
you said, you gave the example of smoking. People smoke for that Agni, the Agni is outside, but that nicotine goes and fires you up. So, as a teacher, I must say that I used to tell my class, listen, if you haven't learned anything, it's not your fault, it's my fault. Because
Yes.
I wasn't able to inspire you. I wasn't able to make that passion, as you said, infectious, that the things we are talking about are really important. So, viewers, if these episodes don't interest you, it's not your fault, it's our fault. So give us your comments.
Definitely it's your fault. I agree.
I was going to say our fault, but okay, it's my fault. So do write
Yes.
in, and tell us what you'd like us to discuss, how you'd like us to improve. But we'll have one more point about yoga now, which is, Dr. Singh, let's try to connect, Patanjali, because that's the so-called Ashtang yoga, yoga of 8 angas or limbs, as they call it, or ancillaries, and related to the Veda. So, what are the 8 limbs of yoga? Of course, you have yama and niyama. So, yama, niyama, asana. Then you have pranayama, the breathing.
Yes.
Then you have dharana, then dhyana, and no, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. So, these 8 limbs of yoga, we can start talking about them. At least start with the yamas. You see, the do's and the don'ts, the ethical foundation in Patanjali, of yoga. Would you say, Dr. Singh, that somehow that ethical foundation is also hinted at or present or implicit in the Veda?
Yeah, so I had kind of proposed that most of Patanjali is present in seed in uh, in the Veda, and the Vedic yoga, if we may call it that. And please understand, I'm not trying to say that today's yoga is the same as the Vedic yoga, and without anyone getting upset over it, because Vedic yoga is beautiful in its place and today's yoga is appropriate for the modern mind. Although we can learn a lot from the Vedic yoga now, especially, it is, to me, it's like a bath in the fresh stream, right at its origin. It's being next to the granite rocks and just bathing in that cold water. It's beautiful. But so let's take a step back. Yama, niyama, asana, and pranayama. Pranayama is easy, I think, because Vayu is invoked. Vayu and prana, they are there, right? Um, Asana, you just brought that in. You threw that in 1.5.3. I had not seen any mention of asana, but accepting your proposal tentatively, let's say it is there somehow or the other. And I have not an interest in making sure that all of them are there. If it's there, if it's not there, it's not there. Now, yama and niyama are very fascinating. Mastery over oneself. That's what it is. Mastery over your senses, mastery over your emotions, your thought. And I had proposed, and also we several commentaries talk about Varuna being being wide, but also a master of all your other impulses. In fact, he frees you of the three bonds. Classically, there's a story of Shunakshepa in which he's caught and ready to be sacrificed, and the priests refuse to sacrifice him, and he invokes Varuna to free him of the three bonds. What are these three bonds? The mind, the emotion, the body. And Varuna, he's tied to a pillar with these three cords, and these three cords are opened. So to me, Yama and Niyama are, in a sense, the presence of Varuna, widening mastery, control, that wide oceanic awareness coming down, but also bringing that control. So that's how I took it. Dharana is my favorite. Pratyahara, of course, giving up everything into the Agni, idam na mamaha, idam agnaye, remember that? So nothing is mine, it's all yours. No ahara for me.
Agnaye swaha.
Yes. So everything is offered into Agni. But dharana is that focused awareness in which you can hold a thought, a thing, a concept, or nothing, or everything. That space of awareness. That is what dharana is. Krishnamurti called it the space of awareness. And space is very important. Space comes constantly in the Veda, and Veda takes every element and makes it a kind of a psychological equivalent, gives us a psychological equivalent for it. So to me, the space that comes with uh, uh, Vishnu brings you the space, wideness, because Vishnu is, the meaning is the one who is wide. And it comes constantly. Varuna also brings it, because Varuna is wideness, and Vishnu also brings it. Vishnu is in a very calm and gentle, friendly way. And then, of course, here comes the dhyana, which is the focus. And dhyo comes constantly, the mind, how to focus. And you may say that, even in the first Agni Suktam, already concentration has started coming in. Upatvagne, right? Dive,
Wait,
dosha,
okay. And
avaskar,
Dhiman,
vayam.
we just, and Dhyo, Yo, Na, Dhiman, all of this is in the Veda, 100%.
Yes,
So
right.
dhyana is not a problem, as it were. It is
Dhyana is
very,
not a problem.
very
Right.
present.
Now, samadhi is an interesting thing, and samadhi of the Vedic kind is seems to be a different understanding than the samadhi of Patanjali. And samadhi even of Sri Krishna is a very different samadhi than that of Patanjali. Samadhi of Sri Krishna in the Gita is a Brahma Nirvana, where everything is Brahman. It's an awake, alive, vibrant, dynamic samadhi. It's not a withdrawal. It's not passive, which is what we nowadays we understand that someone has taken off. But in the Gita, it is a very dynamic Brahma Nirvana. He talks about constantly. He'll talk about Brahma Nirvana. In fact, at the end of the second adhyaya, he ends it with Brahma Nirvana. Very high point. And the Veda also, that realization um, is constantly an improvement, going up and up until you're identified with the consciousness of Surya itself, where all the rays of the Surya are brought into that oneness. And in the fifth mandala, 62nd suktam, it is described beautifully, and how the sun withdraws all its rays, and there, that is the one I saw, if you remember that.
Kurmanganiva sarvashaha.
Yes. And so it's this thing keeps coming back, the sun withdrawing all its rays. But there's a very dynamic kind of a samadhi to it too, where Saraswati comes down and takes on everything. And Dhiyo Vishwa Vira Ajati. Remember that in the third, at the end of the third suktam, she takes over. That great Vak Devi takes over everything. It is every thought, everybody's thought, and all your thoughts are mastered, controlled by her. Now, what do you say to that? Sama Adhi. It is together, all the these together. Is that the meaning of samadhi? So samadhi itself is a very loaded term. It is not one word which is a withdrawal into some passive nirvanic state. That may be more a Buddhist ideal, although even the Buddha was not just a passive withdrawal, because he didn't withdraw. So I think we have to revise our understanding of samadhi, realize that it's very active, dynamic, and passionate. As Krishnamurti says, compassion is the coming together of all passions. When all the energies come together, samadhi, then samadhi is possible. But these are my thoughts.
Compassion. Yes. No, that's really good, because when you said Brahma Nirvana, that is to distinguish from the Buddhist Nirvana.
That's right.
Which was actually an extinction in some ways, is how people interpreted it.
Yes.
And that's why the Mahayana, they said that we want to become bodhisattvas. That is, we want to hang around and help everybody.
Yes.
So that addresses your point of it not being entirely passive. I just wanted to make one or two more points before we end this episode about asana. Now, if anybody who's practiced yoga knows that you have to find stability in the asana that you are practicing.
Yes.
So that element of asa, that element of being established, even my own yoga teacher used to say, find the point of balance, even in a, like in a Virupaksha asana, or a Virabhadrasana asana. So you find even in that seemingly precarious position, the balance. So that invocation for the deities to come and sit. The sit here doesn't mean, it means in situ, that is on site, but also they are established. They are not, you see, they are not uncomfortable. They are not constantly fretting or moving. So you have to find your balance. So that's about asana. So I think it's there. Obviously, I believe it's there in the Veda. We have to find out more. And then coming back to the original point about Agni, you see, the reason I brought that up is if you look at the very second sutra, then Patanjali says, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So again, it seems to be the cessation, as it were, of all mentation or mental, vibrations or mental movements of the mind, which we find, normally speaking, very, very difficult to do. But the way I understand the Vedic idea is you need Agni. It is not a cessation. It is not, so it is a dynamic kind
Yes.
of meditation or yoga that as we were saying, yoke the horses, invoke Indra, let's go to battle. And now, I guess over time, yoga has turned into that kind of passivity. But luckily, when yoga came to the United States, they started doing dynamic yoga,
Yes. Yes.
aerobic yoga, all
Yes.
kinds of hot yoga where you're made to sweat in a sauna.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So, so the dynamism has been brought back thanks to this East-West movement, which we are
Yes.
going to talk a little more about. But
M-
some
May
conclude,
I? Yeah. May I say
please.
one more thing? And I just realized it again. This is what happens with the Veda. In the third suktam of the first mandala, the third rik is to the Ashwini brothers. And the Rishi says the seat is ready. Vrikta barhisha. Barhisha is bahar, outside, but also means grass. And
Grass.
Vrikta barhisha, the seat is ready. So I think if I remember it, Dastra a yuva kava suta nasatya vrikta barhishaha. So he invites him and he says, "Ah, ya atam Rudra Vartani." And so that's where the passion of the Ashwins, because Ashwinis are intense. They make you suddenly move and they impel you with a new energy. And so he says, the seat is ready. Come, have the Soma, and then Rudra Vartani. So move with the power of the Rudra. So again, it's a as I see, the connections are there, probably the seeds are there, and it's a seamless, seems to be a seamless link, a continuity, shall we say.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yes. When you were talking about that last time, also, I was thinking about this. This phrase, that keeps coming. Ayatanam mam bhavati. Again, ayatanam. It is an abode. It's a dwelling place. It's a source. It's a seat, a support. Think about all these, you know, words that constantly, are invoked in the Veda, asking the deities, asking, the gods, and Yopa ma yatanam Veda. I'm not pronouncing it properly because it's been a long time. I mean, as Dr. Singh says, come on, start chanting again. But
Yes,
yeah,
that's the
so
fire.
light the fire. So this is coming up from my memories. But the long and short is that, we invite the deities, they come and sit, they join, and that joining is a yoga.
Yes,
And it is not just a passive activity. I mean, there's only one asana, Shavasana, which is actually the death, so to speak. You imitate death, which is totally passive. All the others are active. And so, on that active note, friends, do like, share, and subscribe to our channel and join us in this journey. Help and support and comment. We have a wonderful Twitter handle or X, Amazing Vedas on X. And, we're going to continue this discussion and this journey. So thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you, Dr. Singh, and namaste.